sitä ikinä. Että sellainen tyyppi kuin sä.
Vähän erilainen. Jämäkämpi humalointi.
Hei, yksi Venä olut, kiitos.
Yes sir. Niin mut on. Kiitos. Kiitoksia.
Kiitos. Hei, mikä nimi on?
Juha Virtanen MAKU BREWINGilta, moikka.
Alan Nigel. Hey, so we'll talk in English because most of my viewers are English.
Of course.
Yeah. So basically, I'm at a music festival, and basically I saw you guys this MAKU Brewing because a friend of mine brought some beers over to England from you.
Yes.
So I got to know you through that. So this is a wheat beer. I think it's fantastic. It's an American style one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We make a wheat beer every single summer, and this time around, it's an American wheat ale, which means that there's only 30% of the malt bill is wheat malts.
Okay.
And it's got a nice crispy citrusy feeling from the US hops as well.
Okay. So what's your best-selling beer?
I mean, it has to be our sauna beer,
Okay.
or the pale lager, our horizontal pales.
Okay. So I've not had that one.
It's a classic pale ale with 3 different American hops, but we just used a small, tiny bit amount of it to give it a nice herbal kind of tone. And to my mouth, it kind of tastes like birch leaves, which is, as you know, in Finnish sauna.
Yeah. So yesterday we talked about like the Finnish craft beer scene, and how because when I first started to come to Finland in 20 years ago, it was Karhu.
Only about 4 breweries there.
Yeah. So how many breweries are there in Finland now?
Around 140 by the last time I checked. So it's become a booming industry.
And what do you think's the reason behind like the boom in the craft ale in Finland?
I mean, there's a lot of like reasons for that. The first one is that in 1995 we joined the EU. So before that, all of the new permissions that you had to apply for to set up a brewery that were given by the alcohol monopoly of Finland.
Yeah.
And their interest is to lessen the effects of alcohol consumption in Finland. So they didn't give out permissions that much. But it was all changed in '95 because we changed over to European Union. And the regulation became so that Valvira was the one, and aluehallintoviranomainen ABI were the ones that gave the permissions for new breweries to be set up. Of course, there was the depression of 1990s. Got the prices of alcohol high. So people started making alcohol back home.
Yeah. That was also the time of like Saati, wasn't it?
Yeah. Booming time for Saati and Kilju as well, which is basically water, sugar, and yeast.
Right. Is Saati made with rye? Is that right?
Sometimes it can be made out of rye, barley, and wheat. The thing about the Saati is that it's an unhopped beer, a farmhouse ale.
Right.
It's an original Finnish beer style. And it's an unhopped farmhouse ale that is fermented with using baker's yeast and some juniper branches.
I never knew that because we actually had some brewed for us, our wedding.
Nice one.
Yeah, and because I love it. Because at the time, I've always been a fan of Bavarian like wheat beers, and I always thought that Saati had a hint of a Bavarian
Very
wheat
similar,
beer.
Yes, because of the yeast strain is something that produces that banana and clove-like esters into the beer itself.
And also the texture too, almost like a velvet.
Viscosity of it.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, so interesting.
But it's hard to. Well, it's not hard to make Sahti. It's not hard to sell Sahti, but it's pretty difficult to export it because it's unhopped. So that gives it a lifetime of only 1 month before it turns sour.
Wow.
And that's the reason why it was back in the days. It was only made for special occasions like weddings or funerals.
Yeah.
And
now understand.
They had this saying that the party's not over before the Sahti runs out.
And what's people used to say that it was brewed to quite a high alcohol content.
Yeah, because it was made for special occasions. So traditionally Sahtis are above 7% ABV.
Wow.
And we make 2 Sahtis a year, one for Christmas and one for midsummer, and they're all...
I've got to come down because I've not, since I've been in Finland this time, like 2.5 years, I've not found a Saati, but I understand now why you're not going to see it in a supermarket.
Yeah.
So it used to be through my wife's uncles.
Yeah.
They would somehow find a supplier of it, and then.
Yeah.
But a fantastic beer. So, how long has MAKU been going for?
For 9 years. We're turning
Wow.
10 next
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And we're pretty much looking forward into it because we're going to have a huge party because of that. Back in the day, in 2014, when we were founded, there was only 20 breweries around that time.
Yeah.
So we were like one of the first breweries that were set up during the craft beer revolution, or the
Yeah.
first wave of IPAs in Finland.
Well, so why do you think that? Why do you think that craft beer revolution happened? Because it was very, very dramatic.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to understand that everything happens in Finland like 10 years after it has been done in the UK or the US. So the craft beer boom had been already done in the US and UK, and people, like bigger companies, started exporting or importing those beers to Finland, and the interest. There was more and more of interest in that. Also, at the same time, I think like people had already that know-how on how to make beer from back of the 90s.
Yeah. From say like the Sarti making.
Yeah. And for example,
But hang on, I'm going to turn the camera around now. I'm just going to say, like, Finns are well known for their modesty, and this guy is being modest because, in my opinion, like Finland is being way ahead of Britain in terms of craft beer production.
I mean, there's some trends that, like, of course, we can see that something is trending now in the US. So in a few years' time, that will become the trend here as well. So, for example, New England IPAs were huge years before they were actually big here. And now we're kind of waiting on the craft lager wave to settle here as well. Of course, 95% of the beer that is consumed in Finland is pale lagers.
Yeah.
But the interesting craft lager has been...
But then again, there's like a massive variety of that. There's fantastic Helles, like Bavarian style lagers produced, box,
Doppelbox, for example, yeah.
dark lagers, which you just can't. Honestly, today, even if you went to a big supermarket in Britain, it's very hard to get hold of even something as boring as a dark lager.
Yeah.
Whereas in Finland, you can go to not just Alko, but like S Market and K Market, and there'll be a wide variety of all sorts of different beer types. So, what do you think changed in terms of like Finns moving from drinking, say, Karhu and Lappinkulta to drinking like sour beer, wheat beers? How did all of that happen so quick?
I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say that COVID helped us in that sense, because there was a sense of coming together and helping the local businesses in the local communities.
Yeah.
And for example, we started gathering more and more of our clients that were living next to us that hadn't heard about us for 7 years that we had existed. Now they have become our regulars. They have become interested in the different beers we manufacture.
So people actually wanted to help small businesses because I think that's really great, because I think the lockdowns, certainly in England, they just benefited the big businesses. They were allowed to stay open. So it's really great that Finns themselves, I've noticed, like in this festival, you know, it's easy to see which beers people are buying, and you're outselling I think it's Heartwall, isn't it? The other.
One of the bigger ones in Finland.
Yeah, so another question really, because I know your time's valuable and stuff.
Don't worry, I've got 2 people helping me here. So.
Yeah, so something that I find really interesting is, in my opinion, Heartwall, they produce Lappinkulta and...
Several different brands, big brands.
Karjala, do they do Karjala?
I'm not sure, it might be them or Koff.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think they've been forced to up their game through all of these small brewers that have set up in Finland. It's like the competition has forced them to kind of get their act together.
But then again, like that also benefits us. I know this is a hot take, but at the same time, their clients are the 95% of beer consumers in Finland.
Yeah.
And when they start changing up their portfolios by introducing new different beer styles, they get their clients to try them out.
Exactly.
And then they find some tastes that they like and are more willing to try out different breweries versions of the same.
So it almost
beer.
like wakes them up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So the other thing we talked about yesterday was in Finland, the main supermarket chains, they're run on like a franchise system, aren't they?
The K markets, yeah.
Yeah, the K markets, not S market then.
I don't think so, no.
No. So for like the kind of British viewers of this channel, that's like an amazing advantage for small brewers in that it gives you an opportunity to sell in supermarkets.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk about like how localized the beer market is in Finland? Because that would be something that's very different for Brits.
Yeah, well, first of all, we need to discuss some numbers. So Finland has a population of 5.5 million people, which is quite different from the UK. Which means that there isn't enough of people to sustain a market of 140 breweries here. Then again, most of the breweries are super small and hyper local, which means that they're able to sell their beers only about 100 kilometers diameter around their location. So most of the K markets, for example, are willing to take small amounts, but then again, compared to the sizes of the breweries, they are huge amounts. So we have this kind of a starting of a beer traveling or beer tourism in Finland, because you can get a hold of different kinds of beers that you can't get a hold of where you are staying for the most of your time.
No, I've had people visit and they'll bring beers brewed by the local brewery in their town. So it's fantastic. So is there anything else that you wanna say about like what I'm gonna do with this video, apart from just put it on my channel? Is to try to get. I've got a Twitter account, so I'll tweet it out to Tesco and to the other Sainsbury, because in Britain the supermarket choice of beers is very, very limited. And in England, even a lot of the so-called foreign lagers are actually brewed under license in the UK.
Same here.
And they're rubbish. Yeah, but in Finland, at least like this, I don't know if the Stella is imported from Belgium, isn't it? No? But it's still 5%. Whereas in England, they knock the ABV down. But anyway, look, Kiitos paljon, and and one day I'll come down to, you're just north of Helsinki, aren't you?
About 30 kilometers away.
Yeah, so I'd love to come down and try some beers in a pub. Because this is another thing as well, is that the pub trade is localized, so I won't be able to buy MAKU beers in Pori, I don't think.
I don't think so, no.
Anyway.
For example, if you enjoy real ales, there's a few locations in Helsinki that serve our beers at real ales.
Okay, well,
Thank you
kiitos
very
paljon.
much.